So as you can tell by attendance, I guess, we're kind of on what you might call an off week. It's kind of one of those in-between weeks, really. A lot of people felt like they came to church on Wednesday evening, so they don't have to show up today. It's kind of between the old year and the new year. I mean, I think that's what it is. We just kind of got over the Christmas rush. You know, we opened all our presents. We have returned some of them already, looking for something new. We've eaten the big meal, and now we're anticipating the coming of New Year. And so this week is we're kind of in limbo, so to speak. You know, if you work, you might get a whole bunch of days off in between. I tried to make some phone calls on Saturday and Friday to get some business done, and people are closed. And so we're kind of in a week that allows us a little bit of freedom to just kind of look back and look forward. And that's really what I want to do today. I want to take a look back at what WCC has done and accomplished in the past year. And then we're going to take a moment to really critically reflect on that. That sounds almost negative already, doesn't it? Critically reflect. And then we're going to talk about what we need to do to move forward, to continue to grow, to continue to be in Christ's kingdom. So we're going to begin to do that with taking a look at the motto that WCC has. And if you didn't know it, this is kind of the unsaid motto. You'll find it on a lot of our literature around. It's the Wiggins Community Church: you reach up, you reach in, and you reach out. And so we're going to take a look to reflect on 2014 through the motto. And we're going to start with reaching up. Now, when we talk about reaching up, what we're really attempting to do there is we're trying to bring anyone who comes to the church to a higher spiritual level. We're trying to enlighten their relationship with Jesus Christ. That's that reaching up, trying to grasp more of a relationship, to understand God more, to grow in our spiritual and our biblical and our theological knowledge. So reaching up. Well, we've done that in a number of ways this year. We've refashioned children's Sunday school into children's church. We said to ourselves as a board and as an education committee, we kind of took a hard look at things, and we said there's not that many children coming to Sunday school before service. We're having more children during service, so let's change that around. Let's try to appeal to the majority. Let's put our efforts there, and let's change it to children's church during service. So we've done that. We've changed the order of service. For some of you, I might have slid this by you, and for others, you've been very, very aware of it. We've eliminated certain parts of the service, and we've done that, or I've done that. I'm not going to blame anybody but me. I've done that simply because I felt, after being here 2.5, almost 3 years, that there were certain parts of the service that were just rote. It was just something we did. There wasn't a whole lot of spiritual movement involved in it, and so I changed that up. We've changed the way we pray. We have that moment of connection now beforehand to kind of get to know one another, to say good morning. My hope is during that time that we can share a few of the things that are going on in our life so that we have a little more empathy for the person when we read out prayer. So that's kind of the purpose of that. We've changed up communion. We've done it a number of ways. We've done it in Tinction coming forward. We've done it coming forward and offering a prayer by one of the board members. We've done it in small groups. And, of course, we've changed up our music even a little bit more than we did last year. And in that, we're trying to appeal to all people. So that's really trying to get people to reach out more through music. We've also started a Wednesday evening something. And I call it a Wednesday evening something because it's really changed since its introduction. It started off as a service. We didn't have very good attendance with that. We kind of changed it to a Bible study. We haven't had real good attendance with that. I don't know what that's going to look like going into the new year. I do know I'll be here between 5:30 and 6:30 p.m. every Wednesday. And whatever it turns into, but at least that's an opportunity for you to come to church during the week if you so desire. So, and then the last thing I've done, and I hope I've done this, maybe it's just not me speaking, what I hope I've done is fashion my moments of teaching, I hesitate to call them sermons, into a way that allows you to take a kind of a tidbit of information with you to make it relative. And so hopefully I've done that with my sermons, that they're moments of teaching rather than hours of preaching. So those are all been in an effort to reach up. Now, second part of our motto is reaching in. And reaching in really talks about taking care of our own. That's about helping the people that we know and love, that come to church often, our friends, our family, those people that are closest to us, is what is involved in reaching in. So how did we do that last year? Well, we continue to care for the shut-ins and the elderly. We just got done with a program called Mugs of Love, where we filled mugs with candy, and then a number of people in the church delivered those out to the shut-ins and to the elderly, just to know that they are still part of our family and that we still do love them and care for them. I continue with visitation, as do the counselors and a number of other people. I know that there are certain people that go and read the Bible weekly to other individuals, which is wonderful. I know that there's people that visit in the hospital, so we continue to reach out to them in that way. And Kay Aldrich has taken upon herself this year that she takes the bulletin from each week's service and she couples it with some announcements that I print off for her, and she mails those out to shut-ins so that these people that can't get to church can continue to be a part of the church and know what's going on and be kept abreast of all the church's activities. Those are really the ways that we've reached in helping those people that we know and love. And the last part is reaching out. Reaching out. And by and far, I think that when you talk about growth and change, this aspect of Wiggins Community Church has done the most transforming this past year. Now, if Esther was here, she could give you numbers, but I know that the figure for the end of this year is that as a church, Wiggins Community Church has invested nearly $15,000 in missions, and the majority of it has been in the Wiggins community area. So that's an amazing, amazing thing. And we've reached out in a number of ways, and we're going to continue to reach out, because if you looked at your budget, and I know you did, you saw that this year that we have officially put down on paper that we are going to tithe 10% of our fiscal year 2015 budget to missions. So that's with a budget of about $108,000, it's somewhere around $10,000 and some change. So that's an amazing growth. And we've reached out in a number of ways. We've been a part of multiple benefits, not necessarily that we have been in charge of, but we've joined with other churches and other individuals. We had Vacation Bible School to around 80 children from children from all denominations. We've been active in the community. We were a part of Pedal the Plains. We participated in the Turkey Trot. Cheryl brought around WOW working on Wiggins, and through Wiggins we painted hydrants, we put on roofs, we cleaned up parks, we gave facelift to buildings. I mean, we just did a ton of stuff in our community this year, and that is all good and well. And if you look around all these things that are hanging on the wall, I was actually only able to go back for the most part 3 or 4 months, because through a computer error, which is me deleting it, I deleted all of the prior stuff from the year. But this is about, the majority of it is 3 months worth of activities that Wiggins Community Church has been a part in. And I mean, there's over 40 sheets of paper, I think I counted somewhere in that neighborhood, just in the last 3 months that Wiggins Community Church has been a part of. Now, here's what I want to tell you, that you've done an amazing job, and you deserve a hand. So let's give ourselves a hand. Now, I know for some people that was uncomfortable to give yourself a hand. We're just supposed to do that, right? Well, we'll get to that in just a moment. But what I want you to know, first of all, is all of that is super positive, all of that is great, and all of that is exactly how God's church is supposed to work in God's kingdom. And it's a testament to you as a congregation to how well and how connected you are with Christ. That's what that stuff means. The more activity we have reaching up, in, and out, the more connected we become with Christ. And that's super important to remember. But I told you that we were going to reflect on what we had done, and then I told you that we were going to critically analyze what maybe we didn't do so well or didn't do at all. And so if that's the positive, and it is, and you'll notice that I'm doing the old sandwich thing, good, maybe not so good, and then we'll finish up good too. But we have to critically analyze what we did not do well, and let me tell you why that is. If you're doing something and you're doing it pretty well and it's small, and you have just small problems involved with doing it well, if you try to expand what you're doing, that small problem grows exponentially. And I don't think anybody here, or at least I hope not, is satisfied without growth. We are called by Christ to grow. We are called by Christ to continually reach out and bring more people into His kingdom. When Jesus talked to His disciples, He did not say, go over there and fix this little area and then stop. He said, I want you to go there and fix that area, and then when you've got that area, I want you to get a little bit bigger, and then a little bit bigger. It's a proverbial pebble in the pond. Circles of influence are meant to grow. And so if we're to grow as a church, we have to critically analyze what we did not do well or did not do at all so that we can fix that so that we can continue to grow. And so that's what we hope to do at this next part as we talk about critically analyzing what we've done. Now, in order to do that, we have to really have a goal. And if we look back to last year, what our goal was, as a board and as kind of a congregation through people talking and groups and meetings, we came to kind of this as a goal. Mark, if you will. This was last year's goal. It wasn't put in this so many words last year, but this is what we wanted. We wanted to get more people involved, and we said especially the younger generation, but not only the younger generation. We want to get more people actively involved in the church, and we want to connect to generations while doing so. We said that it's not enough that this age category over here does something great, and this age category over here, and this age. We want to make sure that while they're doing stuff great, that we want to close that generation gap, that we want to make people understand that it's necessary to have differing views and to work with people outside of your own age group, because that's how growth occurs. So we wanted to get more people involved, and we wanted to connect generations. And so last year, what we kind of used as a model was that puzzle. Does anybody remember that puzzle up there? I've got it up there. That puzzle was a 100-piece puzzle, and the picture on that puzzle is Noah's Ark. And what it kind of represented, as we talked about connecting people and generations, was that Noah's Ark required a little bit of everything to make God's kingdom new after the flood, right? A little bit of this animal, a little bit of that animal, a little bit of a whole bunch of different things put together makes the big picture of Noah's Ark. And we were saying that we are each a little piece of God's kingdom, and that when we put ourselves together, then we can do great things and we can see the big picture. So the challenge was this. I put the puzzle back there in a basket, all the pieces, and I said, what I want you to do is I'm going to challenge you to commit 15 minutes a week to being actively involved in God's kingdom outside of what you would normally do. You know, if you normally pray on the way to work, that's a wonderful thing, but I'm asking for an additional 15 minutes of being actively involved in God's kingdom through the church in some way. And I said, if you'll take that challenge, put your initials on the back, we'll put it together and we'll see what we end up. Well, we ended up with 88 puzzle pieces with initials on the back. 88 puzzle pieces, and you know, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Our average attendance is right around 88. Not today, but our average attendance is right around 88. And so we had 88 people commit to 15 minutes a week outside of their normal routines to being actively involved in God's church. Now remember, God's church just doesn't mean coming to church, okay? And I think we explicitly talked about that this hour is your rejuvenation hour to go out and do more. So we had 88 people sign up, but let me tell you, and I told you I was going to be critical, so don't take this negatively. 88 people signed up. National average, national numbers say that in a church, regardless of what size it is, that 10% of the people do 90% of the work. That's what numbers say. And so if we pull 88 people out of that puzzle and we take 10% of 88 people, we get 8.8 people. 9 people. So numbers tell us that on average, if 88 people committed to spending 15 minutes a week involved in the church outside of regular Sunday services, numbers say that right around 9 actually followed through with it. Now, that sounds super negative, and in a lot of ways it probably is, but it's normal too. I want you to know that we're not the only church. And I know, because I'm involved in the day-to-day activities of church, that maybe it's not 9 people, maybe it's 18 people, maybe we could be real haughty and say it's 50% 44 people, maybe. But what I know is that 88 people did not live up to the challenge. I know this for a couple of reasons. I know this because I know that there are committees in the church that have met at the most once in the entire previous year to talk about what they're going to do to move forward, to grow, to change, to continue to connect to new generations. I know that there are committees that still have the majority of their budgets still left in the 2014 budget that haven't been spent, and one can only assume because there hasn't been a lot of activity in that committee. I know that there are committees that are short of people. I know that there's a clipboard in the back there that where we're looking for board members and committee members that remains mostly blank. And so I know that we probably don't approach 50%. I think we're higher than the 10%, but I know there's room for growth. And remember, this is constructive criticism. This isn't demeaning criticism. Don't walk out of here angry at the pastor. Boy, I'm never coming back there. It's constructive. We have to look at what we can grow in order to grow properly. So if that's the case, and if people don't necessarily follow through and live up to expectations and so forth and so on, it's critical that we get beyond that. Okay, there's the realization it didn't happen, and we look at why it didn't happen. It's imperative that you pinpoint the problem, the issues at hand. So I came up with, and what I did is I brainstormed, because again, I am involved in the day-to-day activities. I meet with the majority of the committees. I hear things. That's my job. And so these are the majority of the time. These are the 5 top reasons people give me for not getting involved. Number 1, I'm too old. I hear people tell me, I'm too old. I've ridden that horse. I've dismounted. I'm done. It's time someone else takes over. I'm too old. The only thing I would say about that is if you read the Bible, God was all the time calling the old, experienced people into action. You guys have so much to offer your older generation, so much knowledge and experience. And I firmly believe that you don't stay on this planet Earth 1 second longer than you're useful. When God's done with you, you'll know. If you're here, He's not done. Second reason, ironically, is I'm too young. You know, they don't want to hear what I got to say. I'm too young. I'm too young. Third reason, I have nothing to offer. You know, I can't knit, I can't sew, I burn water when I try to cook it. I got nothing to offer. I'm just me, I'm just plain old me, and I've got no skill set. Really? Can you read? Can you sit with someone and read the Bible? Can you visit someone in the hospital and just say, hey, we're thinking about you? Can you pray? Those don't require skills. So I have nothing to offer. It's not a good excuse. Number 4 is I'm too busy. Now, I'm going to pick on some generations here. If you look around, we're missing predominantly a couple of generations. And when you approach those generations that we're missing, what you hear over and over and over again is, I'm too busy. I've got sports, and I've got FFA, and I've got 4-H, and my kids in taekwondo, and dance, and soccer, and football, and basketball, and the list goes on and on and on and on. I wish there were more of those parents here today, because I would ask them this question. You're too busy, but yet you will schedule a soccer game and put it on your day calendar so that your phone goes beepity beep beep so you and your kids can be at a soccer match. You will put a football banquet so that you can be there for, you know how long the football banquet lasted this year? 5 hours. You will go to a 5-hour football banquet and you'll make time for that. Do you know the percentage of kids that actually play sports after high school? It's closer to 0 than it is to 1. You will make time to put all of those things on your schedule, but you will not put on your schedule the absolute greatest thing that you can give your child, a relationship with Jesus Christ. You will make it to soccer matches, you will make it to dance recitals, you will make it to piano practice, you will make it to all those other things, but it's not important enough to get them involved in church activities because I'm too busy. The last one is, well, so-and-so made me mad. Does anybody remember how long ago the whole deal was with the prison that they were going to put out here? Is it? Just like yesterday. Yeah, I know, just like it. I mean, really, how many years was that? Was that 10, 15? 20 years. Do you know what? I know I can count on this hand 5 people who won't walk in this church and come to service because they're still angry over that deal with the prison. Really? That's utterly ridiculous. Now, those are the excuses we give. You know, you ask me why I can't be involved in the church. Those are the 5 reasons that I give. But you know what? We create excuses for people why they shouldn't be involved in the church. And look at this. Here they are. Number 1, you're too old. Whoa, you've been there, done that. You got the t-shirt. Back off. My turn. My turn. You're too old. Number 2 is, you're too young. And you know, we like to believe, and this is going to hurt, we like to believe that we're a church that is really eager to get the young people involved. Do you know within the last month, there's been a situation arise where a young person wants to be involved in this church in a leadership position, a young person that's gone through confirmation, a young person that has taken their place in the membership of this church. And immediately when people found out, there was an action involved to prevent that from happening. We want to believe that the young people, we're trying to hand it off to you. Well, you got to let go of the reins to do that, man. You're too young. You know, how are we going to make this church into something that the young people want to attend if the young people don't make the decisions? I'm 44, I'll tell you that, and I have no idea what some of these young people really, really want and desire. And I'm light years closer to them than other people are. You're too young means that we want our church to die. Number 3, you have nothing to offer. Hey, man, you sing horribly, you play terribly. We don't want you involved. You have nothing to offer anyway. I had one of your pies. Woo. You're too busy. We actually tell people that. Hey, you know, we make excuses for people. I know you got a lot of things on your plate. I know you're busy. I know that Johnny's got Susie, and don't worry about it. We'll take care of it for you. You just excluded them from being a part of the church. How about you go back to that? You're too busy, really? You're too busy to give your children Jesus? And the last one is so-and-so made you mad. We do that too. I've done that. Hey, I know that 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, that prison deal really made you mad. It's okay, you don't have to come to church. Those are the excuses we give other people. And it's just sad that we make excuses for ourselves and we make excuses for other people as well. Now that was the negative part. I'm pretty much done with the negative part now. You can breathe again. And I want you to know above all, I said this once before, above all of that is normal. All of that is absolute. I don't care where you go to church. You can go to church in Shanghai and it's going to be normal. But normal doesn't mean right. And normal doesn't mean it has to stay that way. And normal doesn't mean that we can't look critically and make changes to move into the future. So we've looked back. We've critically reviewed it. And now let's look forward. And to look forward, I'm going to do something that I've never actually done before. I oftentimes use illustrations, stories about people and events, but I never use names. And I usually wait for a certain period of time to pass so that nobody remembers it or take it from other parts of my life because that's what they told us to do in seminary. But I'm going to break that rule today, and I'm going to talk about 2 people right now that exemplify what this 37th verse means. Because, yeah, we've finally gotten to the part where we're going to talk about this verse. I want you to listen to this verse again. For with God, nothing shall be impossible. Now, the way that is normally understood is this. We go through the Mary story, and we see that this 12 to 15-year-old girl, don't know exactly how old she was, somewhere in that very young girl, is visited by this angel Gabriel, and Gabriel says, first of all, she's obviously startled, and Gabriel says, hey, you know, don't worry, it's me, I'm an angel, all's good, all's well. And then apparently Mary just says, oh, okay, good. Keep on talking. So Gabriel keeps on talking, and he says, I just came to tell you that here in a bit you're going to become pregnant, and you're not going to become pregnant with a normal child. You're going to become pregnant with a God child. And then when that God child is born, he's going to become the Messiah. And I just wanted to tell you all that, Mary. And we take it that in that next, after all that story, this 37th verse comes about, and the angel says, hey, but don't you worry about it. Don't you worry about it. Because, with God, all things are possible. You see how we just changed that verse around? With God, all things are possible. We mentally turn that verse around in our head and say, with God, all things are possible. And I agree with that. But there's a catch in there. And that is a willingness. You see, there's a willingness in there. And if you've been around me since before December started, I've been infatuated with Mary. I mean, in our men's group, I've talked about Mary. I'm telling you, as far as reading the Bible is concerned, I haven't read much but this first chapter of Luke, because I've just been fascinated with Mary, and I knew there was a message that God was trying to tell me. But it wasn't until last week that it said, oh, there it is. And it came when I looked at this same verse 37 in a different light. You see, what if when the Gabriel appeared to Mary, Mary said, whoa, dude, I don't want none of that. And what if when Gabriel told Mary that she was going to become pregnant and it wasn't going to be Joseph's, she said, you know what, I don't want to be pregnant. I'm 12 years old. I've seen women go through childbirth. I don't want no part of that, Gabriel. Go find somebody else. You obviously got the wrong address. And what if when Gabriel said that, and don't worry about the fact that you're not married to Joseph, it's all good. What if Mary said, I am worried about it. Because society's going to look upon me poorly. My family is going to disown me. I'm going to be ostracized. People are going to make fun of me. And what if, though, all of that Mary wasn't willing, but then the angel said this, because this is what the angel said. The angel said, don't worry about it, Mary, for with God, doing nothing is impossible. Now, I see some looks that you may not understand where I'm going with this. So here comes that example I told you about. If you were lucky enough to attend Christmas Eve service here, and I do use those words, lucky enough, you saw an amazing service brought to you. You saw the culmination of weeks and weeks and weeks of work. Not on my part, on the work of other people. And what you saw was that the whole service kicked off with the song, Mary, Did You Know? Now that version of Mary, Did You Know was originally done by a group called Pentatonix, thank you. I was going to say something else, but Pentatonix. And I saw that version on YouTube. People were pasting it towards the end of November all over YouTube, this Pentatonix video of Mary, Did You Know? I saw that video, and I came into praise team practice on a Monday night, and I said, Sue, you got to see this. Sue, you have got to see this. So I wound it up on the big screen, and we watched it, and Sue looked at me, and she said, oh, that's amazing. And then I said, yeah, I want to do it for Christmas Eve. And that's pretty much the same reaction I got from her. I said, I've got this idea that I can build the entire service around this song, and I want to do it. And I didn't tell you, but the Pentatonix, if you get an opportunity to watch it, it's a cappella really, but it sounds like there's instruments, but the people that are singing are laying down the beat. They're creating the instrumental sounds. So it's this amazing version of Mary Did You Know? I said, Sue, I want to do it. She laughed at me, and I said, no, really? And she said, okay, we'll try. And then I kind of left her alone, or at least I think I left her alone. I don't know. Sometimes I stick my nose in more than I think I do, but I kind of left her alone, and over the next few weeks, we kind of talked off and on. She said, it was a struggle here, and it was a struggle there, but I really didn't get the whole story. And then about a week before Christmas Eve, I came in, and they were practicing, and she said, I want you to come in and kind of figure out the sound and listen to it. And I was just blown away. But that's not the whole story, because here's the whole story. After practice that night, we were just talking, and I said, Sue, that was amazing. And she said, yeah, but you don't realize. And she didn't say this in a way that she was throwing it up at me, so don't get it that way. She said, but do you realize, and this may not be her exact words, but do you realize that I had to sit down and write that music note by note by note? And it took her nearly 15 hours to do that. Note by note by note. She recreated a song that had no music because it was a cappella. Now, I want you to know that Sue doesn't get paid, and neither do any of our other musicians. And I said, Sue, geez, why didn't you come to me? I mean, we could have done something different. And she said, Mark, don't worry about it. She said, first of all, because I'm having fun, and it caused me to grow. And there's number one that I want you to hear. Working in God's kingdom is fun if you let it be, and it causes you to grow. She never asked for thanks. She never asked for praise. She's getting it now. She did it because it was fun, and it caused her to grow. But that's not the whole story because, and I don't even know if Rick remembers this conversation, sometime around that same time, Rick, I asked him to create this guitar solo. I had to have a guitar solo in this. I mean, it's not on the music, but I had to have a guitar solo. And I said, Rick, I just want you to have this interlude guitar solo. I want you to tear it up. And he went to work on it, and I heard it that night, and it was just incredible, and I told Rick it was incredible, and this was Rick's reply. Remember Sue's reply? It was fun, and it caused me to grow. Rick's reply was, that's what we do. What do you mean that's what we do? He says, that's what Christians do. They find their place in God's kingdom, and they do it. And they do it. Not because it's an option, but because that's what God calls you to do. You see, there are two ways to interpret that 37th verse. The first way is this, Mark. The first way is this. If I choose to do something, that something will be made possible because of the enabling power of God. God makes all things possible, but I have to choose to do it. That's the way we normally interpret that. If I choose to take something on that's really incredible, God will help me do it. And notice in there, if I choose, that interpretation says that the choice to be involved in God's kingdom comes from you. But look at the second interpretation, and this is the one that I love. I cannot not choose to do something, because doing nothing is impossible if I have a living relationship with Christ. If you call yourself a Christian and you have Jesus Christ in your heart and you have a living relationship with God, it is impossible to not do something in His kingdom. That's what Mary said. Mary said, I hate all of this, but it's impossible for me to not do what you're asking me to do. And the 38th verse says that. If you look at the 38th verse, Mary replies all of this. I mean, she just had all this laid upon her. I imagine the whole conversation took like 20 seconds. She had all this laid upon her, and without even thinking, because she doesn't have time to think, and Mary said, behold the handmaid of the Lord. Behold, I am your servant. That's what handmaid means. I am at your beck and call. Be it unto me according to thy word. Mary said, I don't have a choice. If I call myself, in her case, a godly person, that I am compelled to do something. So you can throw away your excuses. You can throw away your 10%. You can throw away all that stuff that we did, because I am calling on you anew. Is it possible for you to do nothing when Jesus Christ is in your heart? "2014 is nearly gone. 2015 is right around the corner. There's new opportunities each and every day. Last year, I kept going with this Get Connected to Christ thing. That was kind of our motto last year. This year, the banner hasn't got here yet, but you're going to see a banner with that 37th verse on it. And over and over and over again, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to preach to you. I'm going to tell you that if you have Jesus Christ in your heart, it is impossible to not do something. The choice is yours, of course, although it's not. We like to believe that it is. This is a new year. I want to reflect on 2015 and say that we did get 90% of the people involved every week, and that we're the exception to those church rules. And I believe that if we can pull together as a congregation and start to feel Christ in our heart and be compelled to get out into His kingdom and do something, that Wiggins Community Church will continue. Because I'm telling you, right now we are, and I say that without haughtiness or conceit, right now we are the church that people look to in the Wiggins community area to get things done. We are. But there's always room for growth. There's always room to get better. And I promise you that you'll have fun, you'll grow, and you will realize that it's just what we do. Peace and blessings. Amen. We come now to our time of prayer.